Um, I joined Post back in October or November of 2011, and at that time found myself in an enterprise which was running a very interesting collaborative platform across the group. And I guess being part of this particular summit, I volunteered to, share some of my experiences as to what I've seen within New Zealand Post, and particularly around how we're using this technology within our enterprise. There's some interesting insights I want to share with you today and give you perhaps at least one or two takeaways. The rest, if you want to ignore, that's fine, but at least if you take away one or two, that'll be a good thing. So I've called this presentation The Rise and Fall. The fall and rise, other way around. Certainly looking at the way collaborative environments were deployed within New Zealand Post versus to where they are today, and certainly where they're going forward, certainly gives us some really good, optimism about where we want to take the organisation. So, first of all, a very basic definition for what I believe is a collaborative environment. Collaborative environments can be many things to many people, and this is definitely not the Wikipedia definition of what a collaborative environment is, but it basically means doing stuff together digitally in real time. And for me, a collaborative environment is about how you can actually do stuff together. So perhaps in the old or less traditional ways, collaborative environments was based upon things like email, the exchange of information, perhaps writing up notes on the back end of your document and sending it back to the person. That's a form of collaboration, and in many organisations that's mostly how you probably execute it. But taking that further forwards with technology today, certainly we can move more towards a real-time environment around collaborative spaces, such as video, real-time chat, online presence, knowing when someone's there, you can see them online, you can make some comments, the person sees it, all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, just a very basic idea as to what a collaborative environment is, just to set the scene. Now, a little bit about New Zealand Post Group. We're a fairly large organisation, 11,000 employees, 1.4 billion in revenue. But more importantly, we're a bunch of whole different companies stitched together under one banner called New Zealand Post Group. So things like Localist, KiwiBank, New Zealand Post, Express Couriers, and all the various groups that make them up as well. Probably, and more importantly, around the desire for us to move to a collaborative environment was the fact that we have a very geographically dispersed workforce across the country, as you can probably imagine, both rural and urban, and perhaps to my shock and horror when I started, about 500 people that are working in IT across the group. So we're fairly substantial. Complex, good word. And we operated the standard model of operating IT that all of you probably at some time in your life also operated. We decided that we would operate ourselves in silos across the group. So each of the businesses had their own way of doing things. And certainly within each IT department, there were certain groups that operated independently as well. And across the group, finance, IT, HR, admin, all those groups were operating very independently to each other. Back in 2009, well before I joined, New Zealand Post was facing some interesting challenges. There was a business horizon that was going in one direction and a cost horizon that was going in the other. So a decision had to be made about how we can actually start looking at making the organisation more efficient and more effective. At that point in time, someone in blue decided that we should go Google. And the rationale behind that was to look at the costs across the organisation and to work out where we can become more cost effective, and certainly to strip out costs wherever possible. At the time, in 2009, this was actually quite a major exercise that any organisation in New Zealand, Australasia, and I believe in the Southern Hemisphere had gone down. So we made a decision at the corporate level to go Google across the enterprise. So this is Google Mail, Google Apps, Google Docs. And I think this is probably at about the time when the Patriot Act was being bandied around. It was doom and gloom, and you can't do it. So it actually sort of made the headlines in a number of different organisations and different press around the country. So if you look at the reasons why we went down this path, there were probably two main key areas. And the first one was around the need for cost reduction. So we decided that based upon finance and the ability for us to collaborate, we're going to save the organisation money. And at the time, we decided that we would move New Zealand Post to this collaborative environment. If you remember the earlier picture where I had a number of different companies, if you just move one of them, it creates an interesting paradigm for the enterprise to consider. So they put up a business case, and we've all seen this. It was good, probably, at the time, but it had some fundamental flaws that, looking back, we can pick out. So for me, looking at collaboration, the first thing is just trying to define what is it that you're trying to achieve. You need to ask yourself some interesting questions. And certainly, the questions of, are you doing it to save money? Are you doing it to increase productivity? Are you doing it because everyone else is doing it? I sat through this morning's presentation and I thought, shit, if I don't join into this sort of cloud stuff and all the other stuff, I'm going to be left behind. So you end up with this driver of, I need to move there because everyone else is. And is that the reason why you want to go collaborative? I don't know. Some of you might be persuaded by the sales guy had a really good pitch. I've had a number of people come through my door over the years trying to tell me that collaborative environments is the way to go. You're going to save money, your workforce are going to love you, and you're going to work happily together ever after. Is that really the case? So if you're looking to go into a collaborative environment, ask yourself some really interesting questions like this. Why collaborate? It's a really good question I ask myself. So I've got some pictures up here which represent various parts of your business, from the IT department to management. And I'll let you pick which one is which. But certainly, is it your IT department that is asking you to go collaborative? We need to go there, we need to go there. So these guys are telling us that we need to go there because we're going to work better together. Is it the management layer? Is it the management who are saying, no, we need to go there. Bob and accounting, I need to share a document with them, I can't do it. Let's go there. Or we've got different parts of the organisation which are geographically dispersed. We need to be able to see each other real time so we can stop flying up and down the country. Is it the new guys coming on board into your company as well? Is the groundswell for collaboration coming in from the new guys who are dealing with this technology? But really, if you ask yourself as an organisation, is it actually going to make sense for the enterprise rather than just fulfilling the needs of the new guys coming in? Or is it management who are just getting frustrated and not being able to do things across the group? So ask yourself these questions. The approach, all in or hybrid. And what I mean by this is, if you decide to go for a collaborative environment, do you deploy it across your organisation and take away the tools that mean that they have to use those tools? Or do you go for a hybrid model? And what I mean by that is, at New Zealand Post, I run a desktop which is running Google Apps, Google Docs, Google Mail, and I also have Microsoft Office installed locally. So, you've got to ask yourself the question of, what are you trying to do when you deploy these types of environments? Are you just wanting people to collaborate and share? And if you do that, if you look at where technology is at the moment between Google, Microsoft, and others, where's the technology going and how do you want your people to engage across the enterprise? So if you start going down one particular path, are you going to blend in other products from other vendors, and are they going to work seamlessly and independently together? Factors to consider. Unified comms, really, really big one if you're going down a path of a collaborative environment. If you deploy, in our particular case, if you deploy Google, it makes the proposition around Microsoft Link quite a challenge for us, because we've got different parts of our enterprise which are running Google Chat, Google Mail, and the ability to see presence in that respect. But on the other side, you've got something like Microsoft Link, which has got some really good features, but we can't use those. So think about your strategy that you've got for your unified comms, because if you don't, then you're going to potentially get yourselves in a bit of strife later on. So your unified comms strategy is really, really important. Linked into that is obviously presence. And then back-ending all of this is your network capable of it? No point deploying something which is a collaborative environment, which you're looking for great video conversations and multi-point video, only to find out your network can't handle it. So factors to consider in that respect. So lesson 1, do your homework. Try and understand why your organisation wants to go there, and really look at the different options that are available to you. I'm teaching the suck eggs a little bit about do your homework, but this is one of those things where if you just make a rash decision to go collaborative and actually start going down a path, there's a lot of things that you need to consider in the back end of that. Going collaborative is a business decision, not an IT one. If you look at collaborative environments and the nature of where collaboration happens, yes, it happens mostly in the IT department because we're familiar with technology, but if you try and deploy collaboration across your enterprise and don't get the buy-in of the business to understand how to use the technology, then you're going to have some issues. So get the business to endorse, agree, and drive the need to go collaborative. The IT department or the IT group, whatever, can support that and provide guidance and advice on where to go or which direction to go, but try and make the decision a business decision, not a technology-based one. Lesson 3, explain what a cloud productivity and collaboration suite actually looks like. It's amazing. We deployed a suite, collaboration suite across the group, and I guess if the staff don't understand what it is that they're getting, they may not use it. I made the comment in the previous session that New Zealanders, in my observations anyway, naturally don't share stuff. We like doing stuff and we like giving it to people to review, but we don't like sharing stuff too much together at the same time. So how do you get people to understand what collaboration actually looks like and how they're going to use it? Which is a whole different story than trying to explain to your execs on what a collaboration environment looks like as well. Because while you might deploy a collaboration environment and your execs love it, they will all choose to use something else which suits their purpose and not necessarily use the collaboration environment. So you need to explain what the environment will look like. Train your staff on what the changes look like. UI is king. There's two primary products out there at the moment, probably in the productivity collaboration space, both Microsoft and Google, both with different UIs, both with different experiences. And I think that if you do decide to go down this path, you need to explain what the environment is going to look like for your staff. Selling the idea is way different than getting your staff buy-in. If they don't like it, they can't use it, they won't use it. And certainly for me, coming into post, the user interface was quite a challenge coming in. Productivity took a fairly significant dive for the first few weeks as I came up to speed with a completely different experience. So again, how are you going to look at that from a staff perspective? Understand what it is you are wanting to achieve. Collaboration for me is a culture, not a technology. If your staff don't get it, they won't use it. If your organisation at a cultural level doesn't share information or doesn't understand the benefits of sharing, then you're not going to get any value out of installing a collaboration environment. It's a platform, and at some point you will have to make the move into this space. So how do you create, I guess, the platform for collaboration and then get your organisation to start using it? It's a bit of a chicken and egg. Someone asked the question in the previous session, which should you do first? Do you do culture first and then go collaborative environments? And I said, well, you need to do both hand in hand. You need to deploy the technology at the same time as actually getting your staff and creating a culture within your organisation that increases the need, desire, and the benefits to be seen by staff sharing stuff across the group. Lastly, don't do it to save money. Please don't do it to save money. You probably won't save money. You might save money, but if you have a business case that says do it to save money or take costs out of the business, it's probably the wrong reason for you to be deploying a collaborative technology suite across your group. There's a bunch of hidden costs in the tools. There are things that you just need to you come up against. And there's a whole bunch of hidden costs like lost productivity. If you go down one particular path, your staff have to be retrained in using technology. Finding stuff is a little bit more difficult until you get over some of the boundaries. Sharing documents between each other, learning how to use it all takes time and effort. Hindsight is a wonderful thing. So here's some of the things that, from my perspective, happened for us. The first one is I believe that we went too early. It might have been the right decision at the time, but looking back, would we do it again in respect of the timing? I think we went too early. Looking at probably the two key product suites at the moment, both 365 and Google are now really, really great products from a collaboration suite perspective. These are two products, or two vendors in particular, that have actually started to get their roadmaps defined for a collaboration environment. So knowing that now is a good thing, but back then possibly we probably went down a path where the roadmaps weren't exactly clear. So we had to put our faith and trust in one, and they seem to have come through, which is good. The features and roadmaps are now clearer for the main players. I'll just talk through that. So we went without a clear group strategy. So we deployed a collaboration environment in one part of the organisation and not in another. And so what that has led to is that you've got one part of the organisation running Microsoft Office, another part of the organisation running Google Docs, Google Apps. Can they talk together? No. Do they want to change? No. Dealing with that sort of challenge, if you don't have a common group strategy, particularly for those that are CIOs across multiple organisations, it needs to be a group decision that needs to permeate down to the various other enterprises that you might be responsible for. We went without a directive, so we now have a muddled desktop across the group, and trying to get ourselves out of that and trying to unstitch that is quite challenging. So that was one of our learnings as well, and we didn't follow through. So we deployed it, and then we left them to it. We didn't give them any follow-up on how to actually use the technology, how to engage, how to actually use the technology. And that was probably one of our biggest downfalls, which was we also have a large number of people coming through the organisation. So how do you deal with a collaboration environment which is probably or possibly quite different than where someone's come from before? Most people here, I don't know how many people are running Google Apps across their enterprise, but for anyone who's come from a Microsoft background into a Google environment, it's quite a different experience and quite a different set of challenges on how to use the technology to its best advantage. Now, if you don't put in the training on how to take advantage of it, you're not going to leverage the value that was possibly in your business case in the first place. So I guess, would I go collaborative again? Absolutely. I think I've got three points here, which is that the enterprise products have matured quite substantially over the time frame. I think that the roadmaps are really good. I don't have any one particular product that I prefer over the other. Both offer really great pathways forwards. One has a different UI than the other one. One comes at a different price. One comes with different features, functionality. I think both of them are really interesting propositions now. Now that staff are more familiar and comfortable with the concept. So new people, maybe in 2009, the concept of cloud-based collaboration, being able to share stuff backwards and forwards, I think was probably a fairly steep challenge for people back in 2009. Wasn't that far ago, but times have moved on. I think people are now a little bit more familiar with it. Certainly, the notion of security and the notion of putting things out there in the cloud seem to have dissipated a little bit for some organisations. And I guess lastly, genuine savings with the right approach and culture. So there are savings to be made across your organisation. People will work a lot better, but the challenge, I guess, for any organisation is looking at how your people can actually use the technology and leverage the technology across the group, and it's not just the IT group.